Kahoot didn't go today. On Tuesday of last week, or this week, he just mildly strained his hamstring. We think he'll be able to, if he doesn't go tomorrow, should be able to go by Monday. And then Devin Golden, of course, is held out. I told you that down to the presser. But other than that, everybody was out here. Thought the energy level, the excitement, the enthusiasm. One of the things we're really stressing in these first 2 days is communication, being loud, being emphatic about making the calls, not only from the huddle, but also out there on the field and while the play's happening. I was really excited with that. So other than that, open up for questions.
Just day one, but just what do you think of Russell Wilson?
You know what? It's kind of what I thought I'd see. He's got great composure. He takes to learning very, very easy. Gets along well with the guys. Obviously, a very accurate player. Truth to be, on Monday when we start getting half pad, any quarterback can throw without pads on. But I thought he showed some really nice things.
Is it just nice to finally get to work with them after all this time?
With all of them, not just Russell. I mean, there's a huge emphasis. I get it, but as coaches, to leave from spring practice and have to sit and just wait to get to, especially when some of these guys have changed their bodies the way they have, it's really fun, especially when Monday when the half pads come out.
Who's going through the most changes?
Physically?
Yeah.
Well, I think you look on the defense side of the ball, just Borland from when he had his double surgeries to where he is right now. Coach Herb does this thing where he takes beginning, before and after shots, and some of the guys are just amazing the way they developed and move forward. I think Bo Allen has trimmed himself down to like 335 pounds last spring to 315, so he's kind of the opposite of that, where he's taken it bigger and gotten smaller. And Nick Toon is a guy that was, I think, 205, and now he's weighing about 220. Looks pretty good.
How about David Gilbert?
David Gilbert and Lewis both, I think. Those are guys, 255, 260 pounds now that are very athletic, and I thought took a step forward today too.
With a kid like Borland, I'm assuming you're going to have to wait to see him in pads to see about the shoulders. But what could you see today? And was he with the ones at Mike?
Yeah, he was with the ones and handled it very, very well. There was a play during Skelly. We were trying to everybody would stay up. I didn't really want breaks on the ball, but that's like telling him, that he can't do something. I don't know. But he made a diving and kind of landed right on that shoulder, popped up and ran. So at least that right shoulder was okay. I don't know about the left yet.
What's the level of concern with him going forward, with the injury history?
Well, I think, you just naturally have those concerns that anything that you've seen him do in the past, some of the things that he does recklessly with his body, we've kind of had conversations to try and get him to understand, at this level and at the size you are now with the structure that you have, you got to kind of play with your feet underneath you a lot more, and I think it'll sink in.
You're talking about like reaching and diving?
Yeah.
Arizona State was
UNLV, where he did the 350 and 360. So, but on the same account, it's who he is.
In Chicago, when you were asked about position battles, I think you mentioned 7 different spots. Is that a lot for a team with high expectations? Do you think
a
lot of open spots?
We were sitting down in an offensive meeting on, I guess it was Tuesday, and Coach Chris had laid out one of the things he was going to talk about in the first meeting was, there's 8 players that aren't with us now. Not only are they not gone, they're all in the NFL, just on offense. And 3 players defensively signed NFL, contracts, and that's a lot of guys that have departed, not just departed, were very good football players. So I think the competition, when I say that, on defense, between Shelton and Dez, that's a great one right there. At the same linebacker position, at the defense tackle, both of those spots are open because I think, I should say Patrick's got the lean on one, but Brendan Kelly in the mix, I know he wants to be a starting defensive end, so I think those things are all good things.
Is that a sign of depth too? Do you think you got possible makings of depth maybe?
At certain positions, it seems like every time you start to build, I know that at certain positions, like D-line, in my opinion, we've never been deeper. At linebacker, we've got a lot of bodies, but we haven't had a lot of guys play yet consistently for a long time.
Tight end,
and tight end, same deal. You got bodies, but you just don't know how many they have played. And same thing really outside of Dez and Marcus Devin and Antonio at corner. Don't really know who else is that next third corner.
Excluding your kicker and punter, Phil and Brad, what do you want to see improvement out of your special teams, in particular the coverage units from last year?
I think kind of what Tom is right. We've got more athletic as I've been here, and obviously the freshmen coming in, but now you look to see some of those guys that we redshirted last year that we were thinking about playing. Maybe they can come onto those coverage units. Also, I think as coaches, we've developed a better scheme, a better plan. I thought Coach Partridge last year, there were 8 punts that got returned over the entire season. And, that one punt stands out in your mind, and what a difference that could have made in that ball game and obviously over the whole season. But that's what we've kind of stressed to the guys. We've only worked punt these first 2 days, coverage unit, and how important it is.
You mentioned communication a little bit. Is there anything else you're focusing on maybe these first few days of camp?
Well, yeah. I think when you start like this, we want to see the huddle start. Get sloppy in the huddle, you don't have a chance on the field. So starts with the huddle, starts with communication, and how you go out the field. We talked about accepting coaching. You know, a lot of times young men who are very successful coming in, or guys that have been in the program, they don't like to be told what they're doing wrong. They like to hear all the good things. Sometimes they don't want to hear the bad things. So that's what we want our kids to have: is open ears, open eyes, open mind, and hopefully that'll result in improvements.
You talked about Melvin Gordon turning heads already with 3 good players in front of him. How will you go forward with him? I mean, if he's ready, he's going to have a shot to get in there.
Yeah, I think he's kind of the same. You know, James White coming in last year, I didn't really think James was going to play, but after watching him, he's just a guy that you couldn't keep off the field. So, you know, Jeff Lewis hasn't taken a rep yet. You know, so I'm excited about Jeff too. But the only 2 guys that have really taken reps, obviously, are James and Brandon.
Replacing JJ, talk about what Ethan Hemer can bring to that defensive line.
Well, I think if you're going to talk about replacing JJ specifically, leadership-wise, you can only go to Buttram. Buttram's a guy that's going into a senior year, and it's been a seasoned guy who I think really, even last year during bowl prep, when he thought maybe JJ wasn't going to be coming back, he took a step forward in that regards. I think Hemer, I think you know, Bo Allen, I think maybe Pat Muldoon, a lot of those younger guys that hopefully are going to play a little bit can lead by example.
Who are your early thoughts that you're looking at for both return games, like punt returns and
punt returns specifically? Yeah. Aaron Henry, Kenzel Doe, and probably a little bit in there of James White. You know, who are you gonna say, Abby? Yeah, Abby, I think is a guy that we've seen back there and doing it, but I'd like to see if we can make some strides there. Kickoff return, we've got a host of guys, even some of these freshman guys that are back there, but again, kind of the same guys. James White, Monty Baldwin back there. You'd like to see what maybe like a Manessa Garner. Everybody's favorite Chris Borland is back there. I know he can catch kicks. So it's kind of a by committee right now.
You mentioned Aberdaris. What do you look for out of the wide receiver position in camp behind maybe Aberdaris and Toon?
Well, those are the 2 guys. They got to keep coming through and keep coming on. I think Manessa Garner, we moved him full-time to the wideout position. Isaiah Williams, Kenzel Doe has kind of turned some eyes. I know during the summer the guys were really excited about him. So really over the next 2 or 3 days when we see those guys pop out.
What have you liked about the demeanor Jake Byrne has shown over the last year or so, ever since he started really getting into the rotation?
You know, Jake has been a steady improvement. I know this. I mean, he's a guy that has worked every day. He's, as you know, because of diabetes, he's got that constantly. He manages that. He's really grown up as a person. And, you know, I got the NFL grades back, and they had him, ranked, I think, as a good NFL prospect. And he's built that body into what it is today. And I think he's a guy going into a senior year. He might be one of those guys that if he really plays the level that maybe he could play, it could be the difference between this being a good team or a great team.
Jake Irwin wasn't on the 105. Is that an injury thing or something else?
No, we held Jake out. He'll be back with us as soon as we get her back to fall camp.
I assume you weren't surprised about going to 9 games in 2017?
No, I thought it was going to come. You know, and I get it. I understand why, and it will be better for the fans and everybody involved. My biggest only thing I was concerned about was the SEC stays with an 8-game conference schedule. And to me, that's the conference you're trying to knock out or get above, and it's going to be very hard to do that now.
You guys have cut way back on 2-a-days. The NFL's done away with them. Do you think you'll eventually get there, no 2-a-days into college level?
It's not us coaches, as the NCAA is, and I suppose it's a good thing. You know, and I even back off from that. We're one of the few programs in the country, I think, that we take every Sunday off. A lot of people, there's no rule that says you have to do that. There's no one day off during fall camp. So, but I really have learned over the test of time, I think, to keep guys healthy and moving forward is just as important as grinding on them. So what we try to do is do a little bit of both. I don't see us going to non-2-a-day unless there's a new wave of people. You know.
What do you get out of 2-a-days? Is it that stamina?
I think it's the stamina. I think it's the mental breakthrough, mental and physical ability to push yourself over that hump. You know, to put yourself in a position. Yeah, I'm tired. I got done with 1, but I got to go through 2. So hopefully it's a little bit of both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.